One of the things that they've said to me is they said that the exception will actually become the majority. Those that look at people and think, oh, they're so gifted, they've got this ability, but it's not for me. Wrong. It is for you. In this video, I will be discussing what it is you need to know to prepare for first contact. I'll be talking about the term starseed, as well as covering the who, why, and when of first contact. Towards the end of the video, I'm even going to share a bit of a suggested warning, so be sure to follow along until the end of the video. If this is your first time watching one of my videos or coming to my channel, my name is Cassandra DeAnn, and I am a certified galactic astrologer, quantum soul guidance facilitator, Akashic Records reader, and galactic channeler. So that said, welcome. I'm glad you're here. The information I am sharing today is information that I've been prompted through connection to my own spirit team and galactic connections to share with you here today. So let's dive in. I want to start off first by discussing the who. I feel like there's a lot of information out there with disclosure and, I don't know about you, but I know there's memes on my Facebook and Instagram about take me up, I'm ready to go. There's conversation, but there's not as much you can find regarding to exactly what this means, why, or who. So let's start with the who. To touch on this subject, I gave a lot of thought, and I feel like the best way I can do this is really sort of just take you back a little bit to the beginning. So bear with me as we kind of take a little bit of dive into our galactic history. So if we go back to creation stories, and each culture has their own unique take on this, something along the lines of Big Bang. But basically what I want you to feel into and entertain today is that at the beginning of all things, there was a universal consciousness. This could be identified to some as God or a form of God, universe, source, intelligence, whatever that is. This intelligence had a thought of, I wonder what it would be like to know myself. Within that, it fragmented into different expressions. And this is where we see the journey of consciousness beginning. Now, as this consciousness began to evolve, it fragmented into more and more and more pieces until ultimately there was physical incarnation on different places, planets, stars. The point of exploring from this angle is to say this, that consciousness has been on this journey of exploration far beyond when we would look at simply the earth being in existence. Therefore, there are, and it is my belief and the belief of many others, that there are other galactic races and physical incarnations of beings that exist beyond simply Earth. So I promised we would talk about starseed. So here is where we're going to kind of introduce this term. Now, this is a term that a fair amount of people have heard. They may not know exactly what it means, and there's a few differing opinions on this, but it is believed that the term starseed is to say that there are those who have chosen to incarnate here presently now on Earth that do not come from Earth per se, that their soul was created or originated on another star. Now, in some New Age belief systems, it is believed that there are limited amount of these star seeds, and you may or may not be one. However, in my work as a galactic astrologer and the many clients I've read for and my understanding that resonates of our creation story, the truth looks a little bit more to me like we all originated from a star form, a group, a more expansive consciousness expression. And not only that, we have been on other planets, but we have been on many other planets. I've yet to come across a soul who is a very young soul and which has only incarnated on Earth alone. Therefore, when we're using the term starseed, we're looking at a broader perspective of that all of us, more than likely, have some sort of connection, ancestry to galactic races, which we can consider alien, extraterrestrial, whatever name that you would like to give them. If we're asking ourselves, okay, Cassandra, why is this important? Why are you talking about starseeds? Because ultimately, our connection to the greater scope of things, the galactic community, is why we are in this circumstance in which we're having conversations about first contact. And I hope as this video progresses, you'll start to see on a greater, deeper level why exactly that is. Now that we've talked about the term starseed, I want to kind of look at it now from this life. Let's say you're coming to me, you've never heard maybe the term starseed, but you're comfortable with the concept of aliens, or you're maybe questioning, do they or don't they exist? So when we're talking about first contact and we're talking about the who, let's explore now from a perspective of culturally and our history, different signposts in which we can see invitations to broaden our perspectives on the possibility of there being aliens. So we can look through, earlier on, there have been different tribes, such as, I believe it's pronounced the Hopi tribe, which spoke of the star people. Also, we can look at the Dogon, if I'm saying it right, Dogon tribe, in which they had extensive knowledge about Sirius B, which actually you can't see to the naked eye and wasn't even uncovered until the 20th century. When we look at religious texts, there's multiple documentations in which there is lots of information that you can research and uncover, such as the Book of Enoch, which was intentionally not shared within the Bible. There's also stories such as Ezekiel shares seeing in the sky the metallic wheel within the wheel, which sounds unusual. Or one that always inspired me was Jacob's ladder, where Jacob describes seeing from this light a ladder ascend from heaven, in which the angels descended and ascended from this ladder, which I thought was interesting, because since when do angels need ladders? I don't know, just a thought, and there's the ancient Vedic texts in which they describe flying chariots in cosmic, celestial wars. And the Sumerians, there's a lot of information there in Sumerian tablets and the history of Sumeria that discussed of same thing, these beings coming down. In some Sumerian tablets, you can see the mapping of the entire solar system before we were even in a position in which we were in space or able to understand these views or perspectives. And as we are now uncovering these things, we're recognizing how accurate their depiction is of the solar system way, way earlier on, before, there's no answer really that would be clear of how is that possible. So I invite you to kind of consider some of these things that are woven throughout our stories, especially like I described, whether you're looking at, the Bible, Sumeria, or the Vedic texts. It's interesting some of the synchronicities that come up that suggest that there are star people or people that are coming from another location. Okay, so now that we've kind of dived into that, not to mention also we have our own government disclosures that are taking place where things are, being discussed and brought up. I feel like every one of us is really being presented with an invitation to really dive into our thoughts on these things and how this feels and what we want to do with this information. Now, moving on to, we're going to discuss the when. Now, there are different conversations about this. However, the majority of information coming in tends to lay within that we will see first contact within 2026 to 2027. That being said, I feel like that first contact is a process, and that process has definitely already begun. And I think that is playing out through the different disclosures. Also, I believe there are a lot of people in small pockets experiencing things or individually experiencing things as more and more is coming up, and that this will increase and will continue until there is a actual obvious first contact in which we could say will take place. Also, information I've received through channeling that resonates with me is that when it comes to actual obvious first contact, that, this is the other thing, is we have to understand that there's governments at play, what is or is not, what's disclosed, what's removed. But I do feel like, wow, it's not being given to me and if I'm closing my eyes and feeling into and speaking differently, this is just, I'm feeling channeled information coming through. And basically what I'm feeling is the information of the exact when or how as it plays out is not going to be disclosed just yet. I'm actually hearing that if people are giving extensive specifics, to be cautious, because that is not, I'm looking for the words of what I'm feeling through my channel coming in, but it's like, that is not beneficial, that is not accurate, that is not helpful to the natural unfolding of how things are intended to play out, is what I'm sensing. Now, one thing though that has been shared is that the actual beings in which will make first contact most likely will be of a human-like appearance, but slightly off. So I feel like this would be races such as the Palladians, which are cousins to the human race. We have mixed genetics. That's another thing you can explore, is understanding how the human genetics don't exactly make sense when they dive into and explore, the depths of our evolution. But Palladians, or a race similar in that nature, of where these are beings that will, they may have very fair skin, they maybe have very pale blonde or white hair, their eyes may feel a bit different, larger, but they will be non-threatening per se, appearance wise, to those who are experiencing their frequency, because the idea is that it's not to scare or to turn off or frighten, but rather to gradually ease into things. So I feel like there will be a progression of the first beings being very much human-like, and we may then over time experience more and more connections. So that is the who and the when. Now let's get into what I think is the fun part, the why. And the first one I just want to throw out there right away is that no, the aliens are not here to save us. There is a perspective sometimes people have when it comes to different religious perspectives or this concept of savior and victim, that we can look at that there's something that's going to save us. There's something that's going to, beam us up and life will just be blissful and we'll, I don't know, be like sipping pina coladas on the beach over on another planet. The idea is what I have learned from the experiences and the channeled information that I've received, that this is not the intention at all. And the human experience actually is not going to be just disappearing. This is not the intention. The intention is for the individual to become more expansive. When I was tuning into information for this video, one thing that kept coming through, I kept hearing is, are you limited? Are you limited? And it was this energy of understanding that I'm getting distracted because there's so many things coming at once. But we love watching like superhero movies, right? I did love some. There's a lot of them out. Now they're getting a little old. But still, the point is that when we look at these movies that are showing humans with incredible abilities and incredible potential, and we love this. And I feel like the reason we love this is because there's a piece of us that knows that is more like our reality than what we allow, meaning that our potential, our capability is more aligned with expansiveness, unlimitedness, strong intuitive abilities than what we feel we are tuning into. So understanding the why, what I'm noticing as a galactic astrologer is I'm noticing a lot of individuals are really feeling prompted to start to understand their origins. And this is why, because your soul has been on many different journeys. Your soul has an origin place. When you understand your soul's origin, it's like connecting to the forgotten pieces of yourself. Now, when you take that a step further, not only do you understand your origins, but you start to understand what your galactic heritage or ancestry is. When you understand this, once again, you're calling back missing pieces of yourself. These things aren't separate from you. They're residing within your DNA now. They are all a part of the essence of who you are, but we don't always have immediate access to it till we accept the invitation. The universe sends you directions. If you're watching this now, that's a perfect example. I'd imagine that the universe is inviting you to unlock the essence of who you are. Why is this important? Because it helps you understand your connection to the stars, to the different galactic races. I said Pleiadians, for example. If you pulled your galactic astrology chart, you may find aspects to, the Pleiades and Pleiadians. That means, especially if it's in certain aspects, that it's highly likely you have had an incarnation or interaction with these beings. That means their characteristics are a part of you. So looking at the Pleiadians, a couple examples with them, they are very spiritual. They are very intuitive. They have expansive hearts. They also have great minds. They tend to, when they're plugged in well, they speak fast or enjoy things fast. They process at a fast pace. They enjoy technology, so these are aspects in which you may have connections to this. Lyra is another one that if you watch my videos, you'll hear me talk a lot about. If you're connected to Lyra, you're probably courageous or on a journey to become more courageous, confident, an adventurer. Like you want to feel the vitality of life. You may have leadership capabilities. Now, this is just the like surface stuff. Like there's even deeper layers that of abilities, when we look at topics of alchemy and understanding quantum concepts and energy healing. And, for example, Spica, if you pull your chart and you have Spica, you probably are gifted with feeling energy. You may not understand, but if you feel prana, you feel tingling, or you can sense energy in a room. These are gifts. These are qualities and abilities that you have. So when we're looking at the why, this is a big reason. We are simply recognizing that we are a part of a greater collective. We are coming home to ourselves, to our understanding, to our power. The other thing that came through in channeling is in order to be able to connect with these beings and these races that are going to be making contact, everything is energy and holds a specific frequency. Now, there's an energy scale you may be aware of. It's simply put, you can look at it as like if you're angry, obviously your vibration is residing lower than if you're in a place of peace or joy. That's a simplistic way to put it. But this is what I want to say is that when we're talking about vibration, what happens is that if the vibrations aren't fairly compatible, you then experience symptoms or things feel disorienting. So when I started studying to become a galactic astrologer and sharpening my channeling muscle, reading the Akashic records, okay, when I'm doing this, I'm connecting to higher frequency beings. Therefore, when I was doing this work, I went through periods of energetic upgrades or energetic shifts. At first, I didn't know what was going on. Silly things like I would get tingling in my head all the time. I started experiencing the ASMR. I was having eating adjustments. I always loved a good steak, but I went through a spell where all of a sudden I was limited in different meats I can handle. That's not to say there's anything against meat. It's just how my energetic vessel was adjusting. The foods in which I used to be able to handle, I couldn't handle anymore. I ended up having to adjust to a very clean diet. I didn't know what was going on. I just thought I must eat something bad or my gut is off balance. But then what I started noticing is my clients were coming to me and saying, gosh, ever since our session, these are the things I'm experiencing. And what I realized is these are coming with heightened intuition, more sensitivity to prana and energy. They were increasing in the vibrational frequency in which they resonate. This means a purification, a coming more in alignment with your wholeness. Okay. So what happens is when you're going through this process, then the energies in which you can be around, you can handle. The reason why it was important for me is because I had to sit in the Akashic records to read and connect with these higher frequencies. And at first, I can only tolerate about 15 minutes. I would start to feel disoriented. I would feel the energy would be so intense, it would make me feel completely high and almost hard to focus. But over time, my energy shifted, my vibration increased, and now I can hold the frequency. I haven't had as an issue with that as I did in the beginning. So what I'm saying is this: if we're going to have high frequency beings visit our planet, not because they're saving us, but just because we're consciousness and everybody's there on their own journey. And, these higher beings who have already been where we've been, they've gone through what we've gone through. These are the beings that are wanting to connect with us. You have to, if we're going to engage with them, we have have to be able to like actually handle the frequency of the presence. So what I feel like the information is being shared through my channeling is this, is that those that are going through experiences right now, I've seen also a few people who have felt like they're having interesting sensations in their heart, where it's like, it feels like there'll either be pressure or there can be like your heart is moving fast or different energies of this. Now, always use your own discretion of your medical circumstances, but I am just sharing this because I feel inclined to do so. The heart chakra is the highest vibrational frequency of the chakras. So it makes sense that we're going through this expansion of the heart. Also, look at all of the energy, externally we're dealing with. A lot of people are being invited to open their heart, to not be judgmental, to open their hearts and minds to different expressions, different ways of being. We don't have to all agree. We don't have to be us against them. All of this energy is dying. So there are individuals that are going through symptoms of their physical body while their energies are shifting. And the reason why is I believe that these are individuals who are going to be most prepared for first contact and engagement and experiences with these beings. Okay. So that is one of the many reasons why, that this is one of the things that we're finding. So understanding who you are, connecting to your galactic ancestry, going through energetic shifts and increasing your vibration in order to hold frequencies with beings like this. Another reason why, in many ways, it's here to shake up what needs to die in our beliefs and our structures and our opinions. And it needs to come bringing us back to that question, am I limited? To understand we are capable of so much more. One of the things that they've said to me is they said that the exception will actually become the majority, meaning that if we look at in the terms of superhero movies, or that person that under that moment of of tension or chaos, like tapped into this incredible ability, or those that are intuitive, those that look at people and think, oh, they're so gifted, they've got this ability, but it's not for me. Wrong. It is for you. The thing is this is the invitation. This is the invitation to start shifting this, because where we're headed is the majority will be in this frequency of magic. The majority will be in this frequency of unlimited superhero, whatever that looks like. The expansiveness of our ability to create, to tap into more of our capability as a physical vessel, and start seeing this become more common than not. So I'm sure you can imagine. Just close your eyes and think for a minute. What would that look like for you? What does that make your body feel? Do you feel excited? Do you feel anxious? If you could step into any form of ability or magic, or maybe you even feel like you're like, oh, I've always wished I could fly. That's not silly. Feel into whatever you feel. If you feel resistance, imagine if you limit yourself, what would that look like? What would that feel like to live in a world that makes no sense, that you don't know what's up, what's down, when the beliefs you've held to and the limitations that you've put on yourself, that you daily witness, that they are limitations? Can you step outside of that? Can you be courageous enough to let down your guard and play it would be a very different experience. It would be a very different experience. So when we're exploring the why, this is another layer. And when I was receiving this information, I was, I thought, wow, how to me it's exciting. And, I have a lot of logic, so yeah, I probably have layers I'm working through, just like many others. But when I thought about it, I thought, wow, why aren't we doing this yet? Why aren't we doing this now? Like what has been the biggest obstacle? And what was shared with me is they said, first off, it's your belief. Believing it's for everybody else, it's not for me. Number two is your vibration. You have to be tapped in to the fullest expression of your energy centers. You have to be balanced. You have to have all connections aligned and good shape, so vibration, imagination. That was another one that they said is, as a creative, if you just sat there and said to the canvas, okay, do you want to be this or this? Like, these are your only options. That's limited. That's limited. They're like opening up the imagination, opening up the realms of possibility, that using the imagination. And then the last thing they said is focus. We are so distracted by things that take our focus. I mean, I've said this before, sit in a coffee shop, sit in a public place and listen to what you hear for 10 minutes. It's going to be things that are very much relationship related, or this person did this, or that did that, or I can't this, or they upset that. We're focusing on the wrong things. There's an invitation to start adjusting mindset, to start thinking, what am I going to do in this new world of magic? Like, how am I going to function day to day? Like, how am I going to open up? And starting to shift those perspectives. So these are the whys. These are the reasons that we're in this time that we're in, and we're going through these shifts. It's not because we need saving. It's because we are being invited to evolve and to unlock the deeper essence of who we are that has already existed. Now, the other thing that came through, they said, is on their end, they also have a desire to learn from us, connect from us. We are experiencing different circumstances in which they're experiencing. And when we collaborate in our understandings, there's new technology, new ability, new understanding, new consciousness, expansion. They also said that they look at us as lost family. There's this element of in which understanding we're connected. And from a simplistic perspective, they also said on their end, another why is just a desire to reconnect, to come back together. And then the last thing they shared is they reminded me of a channeling I recently received from the Acturians. And I did a video of this, and it was very pivotal in my life. And those that I have shared this with it's really invited deeper reflection. And they said in this video, as a physical incarnated being, the most important question, the most important thing that you could entertain or ask yourself is, how can I be me within the we? And when they shared this, was basically essentially saying, you think that, the goal is to come back to source and come back to this oneness and transcend, but actually you're here to evolve and shift and still have this experience in which it's like the human experience, but unlimited, expansive. But in order to do this, you have to understand, how can I be the me within the we? And there's so much information in that video. Feel free to check the link out. It's really good content, but they elaborated on this. And what they said to me is, they said, in order to fully get this in the realm of where you are headed, you have to to start to understand who the me is and who the we is. And I thought, oh my gosh, so not only is this an important question, but they're breaking it down even further by saying, if you're saying, how can I be the me within the we? You have to understand the me, you have to understand the we. So here is once again energy in which they're bringing it back to this invitation to understand, who is me? Who am I? I've understand as I've gone on my journey, through galactic astrology and my past lives, I've unlocked rich layers of understanding more about myself, more about the areas my soul is excited about to experience in this incarnation. And I'm unlocking more and more of the me, understanding the me, because if we don't understand the me, we don't understand how that fits into the collective, into the bigger picture. But then also they're saying, who is the we? Our we right now is limited. Some of us are lucky if we feel connected to our neighbor, let alone a larger community, a bigger, collective, let alone a galactic, community. So we're expanding our perception of what is the we. If I know me, like, what is it that I'm coming into? What is the vastness of this experience, the we? And so this is all part of this energy of why we're going through this very transitional time that we are. Now, the last thing, and this came up as a bit of a warning. And that is what I received in channeled information, is to be mindful that there are energies of those in which are content with the things and the way they have been. People of power that want things to stay a certain way. They like things, to be tribal, or they like things to be, you think like me, this is right, this is comfortable, I'm holding on to this, I'm not letting go. And they just so happen to be empowered to where they can make decisions in which can attempt to hold this power. Therefore, as we're looking at disclosure coming forward, there's a suggestion to be mindful. And this is actually something that Stephen Greer, you can look him up, has touched on. And that is that some of the contact experiences we have may or may not actually be contact. And this is why it is important to start to explore these questions for yourself now. Feel into this energy now, because when things take place, assuming that it's true that our government has had these technologies, had these understandings, things can be set up or displayed certain ways to influence us to believe one way versus another. What sort of tool do we have against this? The individual, your own intuition, your own understanding. So I would invite you to, if you're watching this and you feel inspired to learn more about these races, comment below, ask me, do some searches and see start feeling into what resonates, what doesn't. I would say that if it's coming from a place of fear, I would reevaluate. That said, there is no such thing as, like I said, the aliens coming to save. At the end of the day, they are just like us. They are consciousness experiencing itself. However, many of them have had a much longer journey and have reached a certain state of evolution. That said, there are stories connected to different races that have expressions that are more polarized or negative, in the sense of what we would think negative would be if you attach those labels. That does not mean that we're going to be taken over or that any of these things. And I believe that nothing can happen to you individually without your soul's agreement of experiencing such experiences. So I would just be mindful if anything was making you feel like you're losing your own personal autonomy or power, or instilling excessive fear. I would suggest to do your research and be mindful of those things. So that would be it in the sense of a warning. So that's a lot of information to digest. I think I'm going to stop there. If you do have questions, feel free to comment below. If you are new to the channel, I invite you to subscribe, share if this material resonated. I share every week a Galactic channel message for the collective energy and where we're going along this process of transformation. And if you are curious to find out more about your origins, and like we talked about today, those races that you might be connected to, please reach out, check out the links in the description to consider booking a session with me or chatting with me. I would love the opportunity to help you unlock the immense power that you hold within your DNA, bring you closer to your galactic star family. So until next time, have a lovely week. Bye.